session number 6. Ladies and gentlemen, and here are the topics. Export readiness and global competitiveness, policy, trade, facilitation, and regulatory reform for a self-resilient MedTech India 2047. To moderate the session, may I invite Ms. Jyoti M. Tiwari, CEO and founder of Ingenious, Workz, Policy and Innovation Strategist, advisor, mentor, and jury member at the Maharashtra State Innovation Society, Government of Maharashtra. May I now invite our esteemed panelist, Mr. Praveen Kumar Mittal, sir, Executive Director, Medical Devices Export Promotion Council, playing a key role in strengthening India's medical device export ecosystem and enhancing the global presence of Indian MedTech manufacturers. Mr. Professor Sandeep Sharma, General Manager, Research, UP Promote Pharma Council, actively contributing towards pharmaceutical and medtech research promotion, innovation, ecosystems, and industry-academia collaboration. Mr. Rakshith Katta, sir, Director, SMO, India FDA 510K, third-party reviewer, bringing extensive expertise in global regulatory pathway, medical device compliance, and international market approvals. Ladies and gentlemen, I request to welcome the panelists with a big round of applause. So next 30 minutes belongs to the panelists. I request you, in the interest of time, please stick to the 30 minutes. And I give you this 30 minutes of time, all yours. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This 20 minutes means a lot. So panelists, just 20 minutes we have, so we have to rock the show. Good evening, rather, good afternoon. It's a combination. It's the last session, I believe, and welcome everybody. Welcome the panelists. I will introduce myself. I'm Jyoti M. Tiwari, an evangelist into healthcare innovation, part of startup ecosystem globally. And I believe your problems are your moving targets. And every time, if there is a problem, you have to focus and innovation will happen by itself. So moving back to panelists, so today's discussion is export readiness and global competitiveness, policy, trade facilitation, regulatory reforms for a self-reliant MedTech India 2047. So I welcome all the panelists. I should not introduce you all because now we know each other. I would like to know your take on this topic, that what you believe that how to be the Bharat 2047 with respect to export and MedTech. Should I start with Mr. Praveen?
Thank you, Jyoti. See, exports today we are standing at $4 billion. Our market size is anywhere between $19 to $20 billion. If I talk about absolute numbers, we have an import of almost about 9.89 USD billion dollars. Export, as I shared with you, is about $4.1 billion. Our target for 2030 is that we have to scale up our exports to $10 billion, and the market size grows from current size to $30 billion. We recently, in fact, did a Chintan Shivir where we talked about 30 at 30. The market size should become $30 billion by 2030. It's an achievable target. But if you're talking about 2047, I think we need to grow rapidly. So one of the important aspects for exports is your quality compliance and regulatory harmonization, and products should be, matching the requirement of the stringent authorities, the global stringent authorities. Today, US FDA and CE are two regulatory requirements which are not just required to ensure that your products reach to US and to Europe, but a lot of other countries are actually asking for this certification. If your products are certified to that gold standard, they would definitely you know, make their presence in the global market. So I think what is extremely important and critical for us is, we should become standard maker and not standard taker. And for that, it's extremely important that we should focus upon our quality, model our products to the global requirements, and then sky is the limit. And definitely there is a lot of potential, there's a lot of innovation which is happening. So we must, and I'm very confident as an export promotion council, that by $4 billion by no yardstick, when in 2020 we were actually dabbling with our own medical devices sector, we have come a long way, but then of course this is just the start. So I think huge potential. We must focus on our quality and global regulatory compliance. This will actually set the tone for our exports.
Rightly said, I believe, and it's very important to take that actions. Rakshith, what is your thought on that?
So as an FDA third-party reviewer, I've, at least in the last couple of months that I've been engaging with the MedTech ecosystem, I feel like educating the ecosystem on the requirements on the markets that they're planning to target, right? We talk about CE, like Sir mentioned, we talk about FDA. Yes, I mean, they are the global markets that they're going to mostly be going for, but understanding the requirements, making sure that their QMS practices are aligned, not after prototyping or not after they get into the market in India. We're talking about day one. We've been working very closely with IIT Bombay and IIT Chennai, and majority of the time, what we see is innovation is there. It's definitely there. But understanding regulatory compliance is far from where it's supposed to be. So that's one major factor. Second, with respect to the regulatory, the QMS part, testing laboratories, right? That's something, I think it's from the government side, and I think me and Praveen sir did talk about it, ASCA for FDA. And he did tell me that there are plans of opening one in Noida, which is coming up soon, which is very encouraging. Going outside India for your biocompatibility tests is 10x the amount than using a lab here. So definitely, I think these are 2 points that I believe can be a big driver.
I think well put, because everybody's in rush. They don't follow the compliances from day one, and that is actually the major loophole I see. Business is good, but you should not miss the compliance from day zero. Sir, Professor Dr. Sandeep Sharma, what is your view on this?
First, thank you for inviting me. In my point, we are at a very crucial stage as a country, as a whole, right? So since the things are coming from lab to scale up, right? So what our main priority is to integrate the entire system, whether it is a hospital, manufacturing industry, academia, and then regulatory bodies, so that we can do something where we can reach to our target by whatever is desired by 2047.
So coming back to second question, India contributes only around 1.5 to 2% of the global medical device market. So what do you see as the biggest preventing Indian medtech companies from scaling globally? What can be the reason? Rakshith, can we start with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think going back to my first point, cost, right? Cost for MSMEs, even though they're the majority manufacturer in India. You look at biocompatibility testing, EMC, cyber security, any of your certifications and registrations, you take it outside India, it's 10x the price. And that's sometimes more than your product development cost. So definitely policy related, definitely aid from the government from that perspective. I think cost is the number one factor there.
Praveen sir, any idea on your thought process in this?
So, a couple of things from my side. Rakshith had touched upon ESCA labs, right? I'll give you one broad example of an ESCA lab. Numbers I'll talk about. There are globally 166 ESCA labs in the world. The majority of concentration, say about 100, is spread over US, Canada, and Europe. You have about 7 in Japan. You have about 8 in Korea. Most startling thing is that you have 17 in China and you have 0 in India. Now, nothing stops us, right? He's talked about that when you're sending products for testing to other countries, it's 10x the cost. So in terms of really becoming Viksit Bharat, or if you're talking about increasing our global market share and market presence, number one is bringing in the regulatory reforms, having MRAs in place. Today you see there are about 9 FTAs which have been signed by Government of India, Department of Commerce. I think it's extremely important to understand the FTA utilization. And as Export Promotion Council, next week we intend to do a brainstorming session on this. That which product, which region, under which category needs to be mapped. The idea is that you cannot have one size fits all के सारे products लेके आप सभी market में dominate करें तो वो तो possible नहीं हो पाएगा. But a very concentrated effort or strategy in terms of which products for which markets would definitely make a lot of sense. Your contribution from 1.5 or 2% to the global medical device market, which is about $650 billion, will also increase when you start focusing from volume to value. Currently, we are largely exporting volumes in terms of consumables and disposables. I don't, there is nothing wrong in exporting. What we are making, we'll export. But the moment you shift the narrative from volume to value and start looking at exporting high-end critical care devices, that is where you will actually claim a larger share into the global market. And that would bring also a lot of interest within that you will also start doing R&D. Currently, we are thriving on reverse engineering. We kind of tweak products here and there and, come out with our own brand. But ideally, we must now get into manufacturing of innovative products which can bring the total cost of care down for, globally. Every country is interested in serving more people. And somewhere they're looking at cost efficiency. They're wanting to bring the cost of total care, down so that they can serve more people, include more therapies. I think that is where India can play a very important role by bringing into play the frugal innovation. A lot of startup companies today in our country. We need to really up our game in terms of regulatory compliance, which is required as per the global standards. And last but not the least, we would also have to work on our quality. Quality is of utmost importance, and that is where the world will recognize us as a quality manufacturer. You see today the pharma game. Because of the quality, you have largest number of US FDA plants out of US, right? So we have to work on quality. We have to live up to the global regulatory requirements. We will have to use the FTAs which the government has signed. We will have to look at MRAs which CDSU must look at signing up with the stringent authorities. We would have to up our game into the global market and move that shift from volume to value. That would bring in your large play into the global market and increase your volume from 1.5.
Very well put, from volume to value, because as far as if you negotiate on the value, somehow you degrade the quality. Great. Professor Sandeep, sir, what is your take on that?
In my view, if we want to become a global export leader, number one, there are certain issues. Number one is very, very low funds for R&D, right? So in that case, we are not able to protect our IPs, both in terms of patents, product design. Second one is regulatory issues, that how we can manage our total quality management system, that they can ease us in terms of regulation. Third one is that industry, hospital, academia needs to come under one umbrella so that they can work jointly. In a country like Germany, US, where doctor, manufacturers, researchers come together and they lead and they increase their export production. Fourth one is the most important is as another panelist said, we need cost, capital. That is more important. So government needs to increase fund. The biggest challenge is that funding is not extended for a longer period of time, and that is the biggest issue. Every agency which give us fund, they give us funds for 2 years. It's not easy to innovate anything new in 2 years, 3 years. So government look into this, that how they can increase the long funding so that we can develop trust to the manufacturer so that they can go for a long term.
Well said. Value proposition does not come in short duration. Coming back to the next question, which international markets and strategic partnerships should India prioritize over the next decade to accelerate MedTech, export, and global competitiveness? Professor Sandeep Sharma, sir, we can start with you.
Industry councils, manufacturers, and other needs to work on quality management. They should regulate the things. They should advocate the policy that yes, they are doing up to the mark. The most important is academia should come forward, innovate, create skilled manpower so that they can contribute. And the most important part is that the startups should come up with some kind of a sustainable solutions for long-term goals, right? They don't look at a short-term goal so that they just work for a period of time and then immediately vanish. That's what is my point.
Rakshith?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at global markets, your standards are FDA and CE, right? Even now. I mean, I think we were talking about it during lunch. The Colgate toothpaste that we buy in India has an FDA mark on it. Absolutely not necessary, but then that creates some credibility there. Until and unless you have a bigger player that comes in the next 10, 20 years, I still see FDA and CE being the predominant ones. And we also see that with FDA approvals, you have ease of access to Central South America, Africa, and definitely Africa seems to be the next big market for consumers and
yes.
market as well.
Praveen, sir, what do you think, which countries are more good to market?
You know what,
Export.
Jyoti, today we are exporting to almost something like 173 countries
Yes.
combined. And these products that are reaching 173 countries, they are across. World has about 186 countries, right? Important markets which we must focus upon, and where again we have to move our game from value to volume to value.
Yes.
We will have to look at US, we will have to look at Canada, we will have to look at Europe, we will even have to look at Japan. I'm not, singling out Africa at all. But again, these US, Europe, Canada, they are high-paying markets.
Volume, value.
And they would actually give you the price. You have to, look at their regulatory requirements.
Indeed.
Go for product registrations which require their standards, which comply. Indian companies will have to comply with their standards, and look at servicing those markets. Because what would happen is the moment you make, your dominant presence in these markets, the rest follow. Africa will come in the game. Gulf. Today we are already exporting to Gulf, and
yes.
I was recently. We had a meeting with with Oman on, and when I talk about Oman, there is a company from India, and they had actually joined that meeting. We had about some 12 Indian companies were joined. I was surprised TransAsia has already got some 100, installations there in Oman.
Really? Wow.
I was amazed.
Indeed, it is.
So market is there.
Indeed, market is there.
And you have to get into the market. You will, if they demand that requirement, we'll have to comply with it and move forward. Yes, you'll have to ensure that it makes a business case for you. I do understand that there is a lot of product registration cost, renewal cost, So for that, we would have to make a request to the government that the way China supports their industry, we need support from the government to be able to make the business case happen. But I think government is also looking at that, and we have a very, right kind of a conducive environment as an industry, as a government, to be able to reach out to the global markets. And of course, the companies like, Rakshith is there, Jyoti is there. They all are there to guide the sector, the industry. And as EPCMD, we are also committed to the entire cause. So we would really want the industry to take benefit of the FTAs that are signed, reach out to these established markets, make a mark, and then automatically the rest of the markets will follow.
I totally agree because I had a background. I was country director to most of the developed countries, India, Australia, New Zealand, and a few of the European countries. The mindset, the perception is that oh, how do I go about it? Kaise karenge? How do we register there? They don't even go to the integrities of that. उसके पहले ही build up किया perception कि नहीं हो सकता है. Okay, नहीं हो सकता है. So we have to build that. That mindset has to also change because they're happy being in India. Because who will go into the regulatory part of it? So that is what I feel. I also want to, Anil sir wants to add something on that. So I will give him that opportunity.
So much is being said about standards that I couldn't, restrain myself. I think unfortunately the problem is that among all stakeholders, the knowledge which is required to do what we are wanting to do is very little. And that's the biggest, as a professional, I face the biggest problem because you have to educate the industry, you have to educate the government, you have to educate everybody. Do you know that Indian accreditation system is ranked 7th in the world? Does any one of you know that? No. We are higher than most European accreditation bodies, except 2 countries. We are higher than many others. You can imagine if we are 7th, there are only 6 countries which are okay. So our best bet to get recognition outside is through accreditation, which means you leverage lab accreditation. There is NABL. Of course, there are 3 more accreditation bodies. We have 4 lab accreditation bodies which are internationally equivalent. So you leverage that. You leverage NABCB accreditation for certification. Now, Praveen said FTA, we should leverage by MRA. MRA of what? Your MDR will not qualify for MRA. That's the problem because we do not have a globally compatible regulation. Your QMS is based on the old 13485. You prioritize BIS standards over international standard. So when we created ICMED Plus, we created precisely for this reason that can we certify, you have heard of organic certification by APIDA, which is globally accepted. You have heard of seafood. Just yesterday, I was seeing Department of Commerce post on seafood exports, where EIC was mentioned. I worked there for 3 years because EIC system of export is accepted worldwide. ECS designated EIC. So what we need to do is either we have a globally compatible regulation, which we are unable to do, unfortunately, in most sectors, including pharma, for that matter. Then in that case, second option is that you create a structured system of certifying your exports to global standards, which 20, 30, 40% of your industry will meet and will be able to export. That we are not doing. And where we are doing, we are not able to leverage because DOP does not understand what ICMED Plus is. I had to go to the secretary to explain what ICMED Plus is. So that is the problem, the lack of knowledge more than anything. ASCA, for example, we are having negotiations with US. You should raise this issue. We should be negotiating that you recognize our labs under ASCA with NABL accreditation because we have accreditation system which is as good as yours. But we are not able to leverage our strengths. That is the issue.
So FTAs, when they are being signed for medical devices sector, more than tariff, it's the non-tariff barriers that we face and the technical barriers to trade. And that is where you really need that FTAs should address this mutual recognition and acceptability of the standards, the tests that we do here, so that at least some kind of benchmarking is done. And I think for ICMED Plus, the industry will have to come together. And that fragmentation has to, move away. And that is where as one unified voice, we'll be able to, create that kind of a sentiment.
Very well said that we need collaboration between all the segments, otherwise we are all scattered and we have to unify. I think you have to add something, Professor.
One more thing I would like to add is capacity building. No one is talking about that. As sir said, that knowledge came from when you grow the students at academic level, that they should know what is entrepreneurship, what is startup, what is innovation, what is regulatory compliance, how to work on. Then we can create a workforce which can work and look into and then such problems that I have to ask to the secretary that, look, this is going to happen. There is no point of that in that time, because people already know what needs to be done and where to approach and when to approach.
Rakshith, you want to add something, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think with respect to trust and testing and certifications, right? It's not just India. It's generally Southeast Asia. FDA has reached out to us during the accreditation process and the review process for our clients. Biocompatibility, right? That's one of the big issues where they found red flags across multiple testing sites in Southeast Asia. And it's not that FDA doesn't trust us or doesn't trust just because we're from here. In fact, as a third-party reviewer, we are the only ones outside the United States to have the accreditation. And we are able to conduct 510K reviews, technical evaluation of them for the FDA in India for the first time. And they do have the trust as long as, we show the credibility and we show
what are the challenges you face, since you are the only company in India representing FDA? So what do you see as the main limiting factors?
I mean, to be very honest, yes, we're the only ones here, but all my clients are outside India. And the reason that I see is education, right? I mean, I think in the last 3 months, I've been going around conferences trying to let people know about what this means. It's half the timeline, half the cost. You spend $26,000 if you want to get a 510K review, if you go to FDA. But if you go through a third-party review, it's half the cost. And it takes 75 days from the day of submission all the way to FDA approval. But it just feels like majority of the people in the ecosystem don't know it yet. So, yeah.
I think advocacy is important here.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, third party, please approach him for FDA. Fair enough. And the last question, we have time? Okay. So the last question is, as we move toward the Vision India 2047, Viksit Bharat, what are the 3 most critical actions India must take today to build a self-reliant, innovation-driven and globally trusted MedTech ecosystem? Start with Professor Sandeep Sharma, please.
See, coming from an academic background, I always say, please prepare the students, researchers, so that they get by 2047, it's just almost 25 years from now, 22 years from now. So if we start from today even, so in next 10, 15 years, we have a workforce which can understand every aspect to ease the business, improve the exports, understand the regulatory system, and go for entrepreneurship.
Rakshith, what is your take in that?
I mean, I think based on the issues that we are talking about, building a shared regulatory infrastructure, an ecosystem where you have testing labs, you have validation centers, regulatory mentorship, where most of the MSMEs or startups or even mid-sized manufacturers can go to a one-stop shop that's encouraged by the government. I think that would be the first step for establishing the vision for 2047.
Wow. Praveen, sir.
You asked for 3 things. One is developing globally acceptable testing infrastructure in the country. That's the first thing that you need. The second is the industry should aim at becoming the part of the global value chain. And the third piece, which is extremely important, is that the government and industry should work together, also look at rewarding innovation. So I think if you have regulatory piece in place, if you've got testing infrastructure in place, if you've got rewarding and government and industry work together, there is absolutely no way we can look at larger numbers. And we could really make India as the way we say the pharmacy of the world, we can say the medical healthcare destination for the world, because we have good healthcare opportunity. The hospitals, infra is one of the biggest in the world. We have qualified manpower. We have exceptionally good doctors who are making a mark. And of course, when you talk to rewarding innovation, I think that again adds a lot of value to your entire global, globalizing or solidifying your position as the industry leader.
Okay, so to sum up this entire session, I think India is no longer looking at MedTech as just a healthcare solution, but from the strategic manufacturing and export perspective. Through the National Medical Device Policy 2023, PLI, which is production linked incentives, we all know about it. Through MedTech Parks, AMTZ is a very great example where they have shown the world that what they can do at the MedTech level. And then global trade alignment. India is building a complete ecosystem aimed at making the country a globally competitive and self-reliant MedTech Viksit Bharat 2047. I think with this, I will rest my thing. Thank you so much, all the panelists. It was a great discussion.
Thank you so much to all our panelists for your insightful address. Now I invite Mr. Jatin sir to please come on the stage to felicitate our panelists. Sir, please be on the stage.